both are wrong, and like I feel like that's a you problem. Hey guys, so welcome to today's video. You can see that the topic is very deep today, really getting into it, and this is stemming from something that happened on TikTok that I made. I just wanted to like kind of deep dive and talk about it. So I made a TikTok recently about something that I saw in Itaewon, which is a neighborhood in Seoul, and it kind of shook me. So I'm just gonna play you that bit of that TikTok really quick so you can have the context.
Put up the sign at this club, put up the sign, says foreigners or Koreans from abroad who have a yellow F4 registration card, not a blue H2 registration card, will be allowed to enter. Please understand. Now again, if you have this yellow registration card, you're most likely a descendant with Korean nationality. So maybe your parents were Korean and your grandparents were Korean, but you were born abroad. Most foreigners, like myself, have this blue one. So students, teachers, anyone who's a foreigner of not Korean descent has the blue card. So basically they're saying like only Korean people or people of Korean descent can come into this club, not foreigners. Now what's interesting, I got a lot of comments saying, well, it's their business, it's their policy, so we should respect that. And just don't go if you have a problem with it. Like, guys, if you see something unjust, you should say something about it, or you should do something about it. If I saw someone kicking a puppy, I wouldn't just walk past that person doing that. Like, that's wrong. This is wrong. And if you have a platform or a voice, even if you have like 2 followers on TikTok, you should say something about it, because people should know that this is happening in real time in today's modern society. This is 2022. Like, we should be past this point. You know, I want people to just be judged on their individual person. If someone gets drunk and rowdy in your club, feel free to kick them out. But don't just prevent people from going in because you don't like their race. Like, that's so medieval. That's so, we're past that, guys. Like, we're smart enough to not allow that kind of stuff to happen. And you guys have a voice to say something about it. And then if you bring enough public attention to something that is unjust and wrong, people change it. Think about all the things that foreigners have spoken up about here in Korea, about like the thing with Children's Day that just happened. You know, like we can say something. Anyways, that's what I want to say.
What happened was I had heard about a sign in Itaewon on the main strip where there's a lot of bars and clubs, where it was basically saying foreigners aren't allowed. Just to give you a little bit of a bigger picture context, this happened in Itaewon, which is a foreigner-friendly, foreigner-dense neighborhood. Compared to other neighborhoods in Korea, this area has an especially high population of foreigners living and working here. This kind of stuff shouldn't happen anywhere. You hear about it mostly from areas like Gangnam or Hongdae, but to have it happen in Itaewon is a little bit of a twist. And just for full disclosure, I'm not for discrimination anywhere. It's really unfortunate that it is a very real problem and that it happens in Korea as well. And I know it also happens in America where I grew up, or in Taiwan where I was born. I just think it shouldn't happen anyway to anyone. I don't think anyone should ever be looked down upon or mistreated or just shunned because of the color of their skin, where they're from, their sexual orientation. I think people should be treated as people, as individuals, and as human beings, and that we obviously have a lot of cultural differences when it comes to where we grew up and how we were raised, but I think individually we should all be looked at for like our own individual character. Are we good people? Are you as a person a good person? You know what I mean? I hope we're seeing eye to eye on this, because apparently a lot of people didn't. You know, a lot of people were saying this is a club, like what's the big deal? I'm not saying like this is the precipice of discrimination problems. I was just saying I saw a problem and I wanted to talk about it. In Korea, I've talked about it on multiple occasions. There's been problems with hagwons and discrimination. There's been problems with the entertainment industry here and discrimination. And if you're interested in, you know, me discussing those other things, you can find them. I've made videos about it. I've talked about it for a couple years now. This is not my first rodeo, is what I'm saying. Specifically about nightlife and clubbing culture in Korea and the discrimination you may face here. I feel like there's different levels. Sometimes they'll say, oh, you're not tall enough, you're not wearing the right clothes, but that's really not the issue. But they're just not gonna outright and tell you, where they try to dissuade you. I remember one night I tried to go to a club. It was ladies' night, so ladies get them for free. But because I was a foreigner, they asked me to pay. And this also happens quite a bit. There's levels also where they'll just be like, sorry, no foreigners, or like no more foreigners for tonight. What was most fascinating to me, to be perfectly honest, I wasn't expecting as much negativity as I received from this video. There was so much outpouring of support and love and people who really understood what I was trying to say, and we were all like really seeing eye to eye and really appreciated the people who were fighting for me and like supporting me in the comments. But there were a lot of people who were really mad about it and angry at me for talking about it. The reasons were all over the place, but I'm gonna give you kind of the top ones. One of the ones I got a lot, which was like kind of, I didn't even understand how that thought process came. A lot of people were mad and just
saying, what's the big deal? Why don't you just go to a different club? Why are you so bent on going to this club?
I was not going to this club to go to this club. I was in the area already and I'd heard about this sign, so I was curious and I wanted to see if it was real. Any establishment that does that, I would not want to go there, and I would not ever support that type of business. They should go bankrupt, actually. They should just go out of business and go in a hole in the ground, is what I believe. A lot of people are mad because my title, it said like racist in the title, and people are like, no, it's just discriminatory, it's not racist. You know what, honestly, whatever the blanket term you want to use, it's what it is. It doesn't really matter. I don't know why people were being so like hell-bent on this specific, they were like really caught up in it. I used an analogy where I said, if you see something, you say something. If you saw someone kicking a puppy, you would say something. You wouldn't just let them keep doing it. And people were really mad that I was comparing those two things because they were kind of irrelevant. That was the first thought that came to my mind because, as you guys know, I'm a big animal advocate. It's something that's super important to me. So I was just taking something that I have personally been very vocal about and using it as that example. And obviously a lot of people don't know that about me if they're just watching that TikTok, but I was like, I don't really know why people are getting mad here, because both of these things are wrong. Like, neither one is a good thing. If you are getting mad, it's because you clearly either one, don't care about animals, or two, you don't care about people. Pick your poison, but both are wrong, and like, I feel like that's a you problem. I could tell immediately the people who lived in Korea or who are living in Korea who were making comments versus people who clearly never actually lived in Korea, seen the word kimchi on YouTube. And then there was Koreans who are both yelling at me, and there was Koreans who were supporting me. So it was kind of like this mosh podge of interesting individuals coming together. Some of the people were saying that I was pushing English superiority, or was pushing Western standards on Korea, and that to me is so fascinating that is even what the argument is here. I am Asian. I was born in Taiwan. I have 2 passports. My dad is still living in Taiwan. I know what it's like to be in a homogenous country. This has nothing to do with speaking English. Actually, they don't care what country you're from. It's just if you're foreign. You can't assume that foreigners all speak English. A lot of foreigners' second languages are English, but again, nothing to do with what we're talking about.
A lot of people are saying I shouldn't push Western standards onto Korean culture, and that I should respect Korean culture, and if I didn't, I shouldn't be making this video, I should just be leaving because I'm clearly disrespecting Korean culture.
That was actually by and far my favorite, because in what world do you think a vital core part of Korean culture is discrimination? I bet you if you went to any Korean person on the street and asked, hey, so is discrimination a core part of Korean culture? Is being discriminatory a big part of Korean culture? What do you think they would say? That comment is so disrespectful to Korea and like its deep history and culture to say that. No, I get that there is homogeny, but we are also in the 21st century. Korea is a first world country. People are well traveled, people are well educated, and so they have access to information. One of the most realistic arguments to my video was that the club was protecting itself monetarily or fiscally from drunk foreigners or foreigners who sexually assault women. I actually got in a huge internet fight. I know, I shouldn't get internet fights. I don't know what came over me that time. I usually stay away because you could never win on the internet, but I couldn't help myself because this girl really got to me. She was showing like news articles where like a foreigner had gotten caught taking pictures of Korean women, foreigners got in a fight. And the thing is, I'm not saying that doesn't happen. That happens. I then argued, by her own argument then, we should just ban men from clubs, because clearly they're the source of this problem, right? Because it's not just foreigner men who do this. It's men of all races and all culture backgrounds, including Korean men. A lot of people were saying that foreigners can't be sued or brought to justice in case they break anything, because we can just leave. Tourism is opening back up, but for the most part it's still a lot of long-term residents. So I would rather pay a fine than have to pack up my whole life and move out of the country really quickly. I know many club owners in Itaewon, Gangnam, and Hongdae who are very, very successful, and they don't discriminate against foreigners, and they've had quite long-standing establishments. They're not just like new, they opened one last month and I'm saying they're making money. I'm saying like these people like know what they're doing, and they've done it for years, and they've consistently brought in revenue and income for themselves without needing to discriminate against foreigners here in Korea, and they do it in the most popular neighborhoods here. So that argument doesn't apply. I can't believe this is something we still need to fight for. But at the same time, there were, again, so many people really supportive of my video and really understood what I was trying to say. So I want to thank those people. I was really overwhelmed, I think, at one point by all the responses, and I had to just stop looking at it because there's a lot going on. I'm right, they're wrong. Bye.